Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name's John Campea, and this is a companion video. What are companion videos? Well, I'm awfully glad that you asked. See, every day on the John Campea Show, Monday through Friday, we take some time to take live questions, but we don't always have time to get around to all the live questions that get sent in. But I want to make sure that if you sent in one of those questions, they get answered properly in a video. So I gather up those unused questions and we address them here on companion videos. Now, we've got 2 days worth of companion videos we need to get caught up on here. So let's not waste any time and let's dive right into it. And our first question we're getting caught up on comes to us from Nick, who writes, in the Bad Boys for Life trailer, they say one last time. But Bad Boys 4 is already in pre-production. No, it's not. I'm confused. Misdirection or cash grab? I don't know what you mean by cash grab. Promoting a movie is, every movie in history is a cash grab, so I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. Look, are they already thinking about Bad Boys 4? Yeah, that much is clear. They're already thinking about Bad Boys 4, but it's not like it's been greenlit. It's not in full pre-production, anything like that. If this movie doesn't do well, you're not going to see a Bad Boys 4. If it does do well, then they'll greenlight the 4 and then they'll move ahead with it. So it's just the traditional kind of, like Aaron was talking about on the show this morning, kind of a stereotypical thing that a lot of Hollywood movies will say and do. And so I wouldn't read too much into it, Nick. I wouldn't read too much into it. All right, FM Sorcerer writes, Toby Wallace from The Society is a fantastic actor. His performance reminded me of a young Joker, along with his entire arc and love interest. A couple of people have brought up The Society. I have not watched it. I don't even know anything about it, to be honest with you. I don't know a thing about this show, so I can't really comment on it, except to say that you're not alone in that, FM, because there have been a couple other people writing in about it too. So for those of you who do watch it, you're probably cheering FM's comment right now. So but I can't offer my 2 cents worth because, again, I haven't seen the thing yet. All right, Mikhail writes, John, make that John Campea Show logo mug literally any other color and I'm sold. By the way, took your advice and bought the first Lord of the Rings movie. Good on you. I was saying the other day, somebody asked a question the other day saying, can you call yourself a film fan if you haven't seen Godfather or Lord of the Rings or, Lawrence of Arabia or Star Wars, stuff like that? I said, yeah, absolutely. There are hundreds of thousands of movies. Just because there are a couple you haven't seen doesn't mean you're not a film fan. But what I would suggest to those people is that as a film fan, you owe it to yourself to see many of these movies. In particular, we were talking about Lord of the Rings. And yeah, if you're a film fan and you haven't seen Lord of the Rings, not for anybody else, not for any other jackass who says, you don't get to call yourself a film fan unless you've seen it. Shut up. Don't listen to those jackasses. But for yourself, I think you owe it to yourself to check that movie out. And I'm glad you took me up on my advice, Mika. I hope you enjoy it, man. Not everybody loves every movie, no matter how beloved those movies are, but hopefully this will be one you enjoy. All right, Kinky Sphincter writes, lobby scene in The Matrix was awesome in Dolby, I imagine. It's funny, I had a friend of mine, Soul, who went to go see The Matrix in theater again, and he said it's crazy how well it holds up. He said the one thing that maybe doesn't hold up so well, ironically enough, is the one thing that everybody back in the day was talking about, which is the bullet time stuff, right? Because at the time, that's all that everyone's like, oh, this new bullet time technology. He said, it's funny because today, that's maybe the one thing about the movie that really doesn't hold up. But he specifically talked about that lobby scene. And I can imagine how good that must look. All right, Suthius writes, hey guys, yeah, Hook can kiss my Astroglide. Hook came up the other day on the show, the Steven Spielberg film. I love that movie. It's one of those movies, we talk about this a lot, but there are many movies that I love, but I can totally see why other people wouldn't like it. A lot of movies I hate that I can totally see why some people would love it. Hook to me is one of those movies that I love it, and I don't understand how everybody else doesn't love it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I respect that other people don't like it. That's fine. It's all subjective. But it's like one of those films to me that I love it, and I just don't see why you have a problem with this movie. It's so good. But anyway, that's just me. All right, Suthius also writes, by Grapthar's hammer, long live Star Trek Discovery. Yeah, Rob and I will go back and forth on that a lot. Rob does not like Star Trek Discovery at all. I actually think it's quite an exceptional show, with a couple of problems, as all shows do. But I really think it's quite good television, so he and I will go back and forth on that every once in a while. All right. And of course, your reference to Galaxy Quest is well appreciated. By Grabthaw's hammer, I will avenge you. Anyway, Toshi Victor writes, my first A-list gripe is the 6-month wait if you cancel. I get that, though. You know what? When I first signed up for it, I said that's actually an issue that doesn't bother me. And here's why. Look, what we get for A-List is ridiculous. Especially when you consider that tonight, Ann and I are going to go see It Chapter 2. The cost of the tickets were $16 a piece. I pay $22 a month for my A-List. A month. For one movie, it would have been $16 of that. Now, I go and use my A-List like 5 times a month, so I'm saving ridiculous amounts of money every single month, every time I use it. But to offer something at that ridiculously low price, you need to build in some guarantees, some term guarantees, to assure you get some, as the company, that you get some value out of that for you, because we as the consumers getting great value for A-List or Regal Unlimited or whatever. We're getting great value out of that. In order to offer us a price like that, they've got to be able to build some things that ensure they're going to get X amount of return on it. To have a thing that says, okay, you can sign up, but just understand when you do sign up, the minimum you're committed for is 6 months. And I respect that. If it helps keeps my price that low, then I'm all for it. And for A-List, I mean, at least it's better than, say, Regal Unlimited's, where Regal Unlimited's is your minimum commitment is a year. So A-List being 6 months is actually only half as bad as but then again, like I said, I don't have a problem with it. You know, I know us as film fans, we want, give me an unlimited membership where I get to see 10 movies every single week for $1 a month. Yes, like that's what we want, obviously. That's how we act, myself included. That's how we act. We want to be given everything for nothing. But for them to practically make this work, that's one of the things they need to be able to do to ensure that they succeed, whereas something like a MoviePass or a Cinemia failed, right? And so I'm perfectly good with it. So that's just me. Stubble McShave writes, Birds of Prey trailer may be to boost it box office with A-List and other subscriptions. Many people may decide to watch a trailer, then why I don't see that at all. Not at all. I actually addressed that on the John Campea Show this morning, because you're talking about, this isn't the next Christopher Nolan movie. This isn't the next Star Wars. This isn't the next MCU movie. Hell, even big DCEU fans don't really consider it the next DCEU movie either. This is not one of the hotly anticipated movies of the year. You know what I mean? This is not a movie that we get to see a trailer for the new Harley Quinn. Let's go to the movies just so we can see a trailer. There are some movies we will have that reaction to. We'll do that sometimes. But people aren't doing that for Birds of Prey. At least a very finite, small group of people would ever consider, let's run out to the movies just to watch a trailer for that movie? The next Justice League? Maybe. The next Avengers? Maybe. The next Star Wars movie? Maybe. Birds of Prey? I don't see it. I don't see that at all as anything. But that's just me. Maybe I'm wrong. As in all things. Okay, Jonathan Chinula writes, hey, John, do you think Christopher Nolan's Tennant, considering its $200 million budget, will be a hit at the box office? Impossible to say. I know nothing about it. Now, look, it's Christopher Nolan. His movies tend to do pretty good. But, I mean, until we see real trailers, I'm not talking about the little tease thing they put out. Until we see real trailers, get a real sense for what this movie is, and get a real sense for how we think audiences are going to respond to it, it's really impossible to say. But look, at $200 million of a production budget, and you know they're minimum going to put $150 million into marketing on this thing, being a Christopher Nolan movie, you just know minimum is going to be $150 million. It won't be Avengers $200 million, but it'll probably be about $150 million marketing. So look at $350 million. That means that just to break even, Tennant's going to have to make about $575 million just to break even. That's a tall order. Can it do it? Yes, it can. But again, I can't sit here and say I think it will be a hit when I don't know anything about the movie at all. I just don't know anything about it, so I can't say that right now. Tom Elam writes, you always say don't condense the Star Wars universe when it comes to characters, but you seem excited about Sidious coming back. What's the difference? Massive difference, and I've talked about this before. You see, over the years, when people would say to me, we should do a background story of, the Sidious, the Emperor origin stories. I'm like, no, we don't need a movie about the Emperor. We don't need a movie about Boba Fett. We don't need a movie about young Yoda. We don't need a movie about young Jabba the Hutt. And we certainly don't need a movie about a younger Palpatine. We don't need that. And I don't want it. Expand the universe. The difference with this situation is that Palpatine is ultimately, with him being the villain in 9, it paints the picture that Palpatine is ultimately the villain of the entire Star Wars saga. You know? Without him coming back, we had a villain in part 1 of the saga. With him coming back, he is the villain of the entire saga. Really, even though he doesn't appear in a couple of them. And this is using him in a moving forward situation. It is a part of a series of films in which he's always been a part, which is the main saga. He's always been a part of it. He exited at one point. To bring him back in to conclude this whole thing, yeah, I'm all for that. But if you had asked me, hey, how about a standalone Sidious movie? I'd go, hell no, I'm not interested in that at all. But within the context of this story, clearly his role in this story has not yet been completed. It's a moving forward situation because I hate prequel stuff. There are exceptions, but generally speaking, I don't like prequel stuff. It's a moving forward basis, and it rounds out his overall arc. You know, we often say that Star Wars, the first trilogy, made Star Wars a Luke Skywalker story. When we added the prequels, which I don't like, but they're there. When you add the prequels, Star Wars transforms from a story about Luke Skywalker really to a story about Anakin Skywalker. By bringing back Palpatine into episode 9, and I'm not trying to convince you to like it. I'm just explaining why it works for me. By bringing Palpatine back into episode 9 on a moving forward basis, it rounds out who the villain of the entire saga is. And to have him there in the final chapter seems narratively appropriate, you know? Whereas in other situations, let's do a young Jabba movie. Let's do a Palpatine Origins movie. I've never been for that. But in this context, totally different situation. It's a night and day different situation. So that's why it works for me. It may not work for you, and I respect that. But for me, it's a completely horse of a different color to use, you know, Wizard of Oz terminology there. Anyway, so that's just my thoughts on that. Good question, Tom. All right. Jordan Spurlin writes, hi, John. I'm looking forward to seeing Midway movie. How about you? And the trailer looks good. I'll tell you what, I was lukewarm on the idea of a Midway. I mean, I like a good war movie, but at the same time, looking at all the pieces of the puzzle involved in that, I wasn't all that down. And then the trailer dropped. And the trailer was really good. And, you know, I always say that the job of a trailer is to take your excitement level, no matter how high it is or no matter how low it is, to take your existing excitement level for a movie and bump it up a couple of notches. The Midway trailer bumped up my enthusiasm for that movie more than a couple of notches. It was a really good trailer. And yeah, before I was saying I could give or take Midway, but then I saw the trailer and I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to say it's like my most anticipated film of the year or anything like that, but I'm on board for Midway. I'm looking forward to it now. Anyway, thanks for bringing that up, Jordan. Okay, Suthius writes, hey guys, what makes me love Angelina even more is her love for my culture, Cambodian. She loves the country, its people, its culture, and she is very active in all that. Absolutely. She's spent a lot of her career talking about Cambodia and stuff like that. Now, I'm not going to be disingenuous here, Suthius, and pretend that I've followed all the stuff that she's done and talked about Cambodia. I haven't. So I'm not going to pretend that I have. So I haven't. But like everybody else, I'm aware that that's been a big issue for her. And I can only say that if she was doing all that and talking about Canada, I would totally love Angelina Jolie. I already like Angelina Jolie very much. But if she was talking about Canada and Canadian culture, I'd be like all about that. So I totally respect that she's doing that about Cambodia, and that makes you respect her even more. And I think I can relate to that. So thanks for bringing that up, dude. All right. Zach Bartran writes, Xfinity is advertising Dark Phoenix, and right next to the name they put an X-Men fan's worst nightmare. And I know they're referring to the plot, but it's funny to think that they're just saying it's crap. You'd think, okay, first of all, Zach, that's hilarious. You would think they would be a little bit more cautious about that. What image are we portraying? what image are we portraying? And having that in there, that, I got to admit, if I was scrolling through, I don't have Xfinity, but if I was scrolling through that and I saw that an X-Men fan's worst nightmare, I would find that pretty hilarious. Do me a favor, Zach, because I don't have Xfinity. If you're seeing this, Zach, can you do me a favor? Can you take a picture or take a screenshot of that and email it to me at john@thejohncampeashow.com for no other reason than I just want to see it. I just want to see it and get a giggle out of it. So if you could do that for me, that would be great. And by the way, I don't hate Dark Phoenix. Quite frankly, I don't think Dark Phoenix is as bad as some people make it out to be. I don't think it's good. Don't get me wrong. I don't think it's good, but I don't think it's the complete dumpster fire some people. I think it had enough redeeming qualities that it's just a not very good movie. Not a horrible dumpster fire of a film, but not a good film either. Not a very good film. I just don't think it was nearly as bad as some people made it out to be. That's just my own opinion, though. Thanks for that, Zach. Okay. JC Am writes, where do you put David Fincher in top 10? If so, I don't put him in my top 10. Don't get me wrong. I think David Fincher is a great director. And if you want to say, like, if you're talking top 10 directors of all time, frankly, he's not in my top 10 directors of all time. I think he's great. But there's a number of directors that I think are great that don't necessarily crack my top 10. I think David Fincher is a great director. So don't misinterpret me. I think he is a great director. But I don't personally have him in my top 10 because there have been thousands of directors. Only 10 can be in the top 10. He just doesn't happen to crack it for me. JC Am also writes, get him to the Greek. Underrated. Agree? No, I disagree. Now, don't get me wrong. You know, I didn't hate Get Him to the Greek with Jonah Hill. I just didn't think it was very good. And it didn't make a lot of sense either. Like one of the guys was his character from Forgetting Sarah Marshall. The other guy wasn't his character from Forgetting Sarah Marshall. That made no sense right off the bat. And it had its moments. It has a couple laughs, but I didn't think it was all that great. So I'm going to go out on a limb here, JC, and say I don't think Get Him to the Greek was underrated. All right, Maurice Seifring writes, Rob has no clue what he is missing on No Pants Thursdays. You are all crazy. I love it. I got to say, first of all, I adore Robert Meyer Burnett. I love every day I get to do a show with him, and I'm going to do a show with him tomorrow, and I treasure every day I get to do a show with him. But I do got to say, I have a lot of fun on Thursdays. Thursdays is a lot of fun when I get to be in here with Aaron and Chris. It's just a different dynamic. That's all. And it's fun. And those two are kind of nuts and they kind of feed off each other. And I do enjoy my Thursdays with the girls. I really do. So I'm glad you appreciate it too, Marie. Thanks for saying that. All right. Ben Rayner writes, finally saw Dark Phoenix. Cool action surrounded by crappy story and horrible villains. Prefer Last Stand because I prefer the OG cast. I will say I liked Dark Phoenix like more than say, I like Dark Phoenix more than a number of the X-Men films. Again, it's just funny you bring that up, Ben, because I was just talking about this. I think it's better than some people make it out to be. It's got some very good action. And Michael Fassbender, again, brings a good performance, even if they don't always have him doing the great stuff. But I'll tell you what, that train scene in the third act, I might argue is one of the top 10 best action sequences in comic book movie history. And now I know it feels weird to say something like that about something coming out of Dark Phoenix, but really, if you just take that action sequence, that train action sequence in the third act, it's freaking spectacular. It doesn't make up for everything else bad about the movie, don't get me wrong, but it is a spectacular scene. And I like it quite a bit. Anyway, Scooby-Doo writes, happy 68th to the best Batman to date. I mean, don't get me. I think out of all the actors who've played Batman, Michael Keaton probably is the best actor. I mean, it's close between him and Christian Bale. I'll give the nod to Michael Keaton personally. But do I think he was the best Batman? I don't know that I agree with that. But you know what, Scooby-Doo, you're not alone, because I know a lot of people that just freak out and love Michael Keaton's Batman for sure. And I like it too, very much. JCAM writes, local team, Chargers or Rams, go Bolts. I gotta say, I like both teams. But I've been Chargers have been in my top 5 favorite teams for a lot of years. And so I just like their brand of football. I like the way Rivers plays quarterback. He's not my favorite quarterback, but I like the way he plays quarterback. The Chargers aren't my favorite team, but they've been in my top 5 for a long time. And I really enjoy the Rams too. And again, they're playing a great brand of football right now. But I got to say, if the Rams and the Chargers were playing, I'm probably cheering for the for the Chargers at this point. That's just me. Let's see. JCAM, choose the best. Guillermo del Toro, Inarritu, or Alfonso Cuarón. Nope, not going to do it. Nope. Not going to do it. The three amigos are three tremendously gifted directors, and I can't rank them. They are 1A, and 1B, as far as I'm concerned, so I can't rank them. Michael Solaric writes, John, since you like The Dark Crystal, you should check out Defunct Lands YouTube channel. They have a mini-series about Jim Henson. It goes from pre-Sesame Street to his film works. It's a great watch. That sounds interesting. You know what's funny? I finished The Dark Crystal Age of Resistance. This show is a triumph. Every episode got better and better and better. The show is an absolute triumph. And then Netflix, I didn't realize this, there's an hour, like and a half long documentary about the making of Dark Crystal Age of Resistance that I got about 5 minutes into, and then I had to get back to work. I got about 5 minutes into it, and I'm like, oh my God, this is awesome. I got to check this out. And so that, what you're just recommending, that sounds intriguing to me. I don't know that I'll get around to watching that, but I'm going to file that one away because I might have to go and see that because I'm totally into that right now. Thanks for sharing that, man. All right. Jacob Silvers writes, John, I recommend when Disney Plus launches, watch the original Lizzie McGuire. I'll be honest with you, Jacob, that's probably not going to happen. But anyway, watch the original Lizzie McGuire series and wrap it up with the 2003 film Lizzie's Little Brother. Matt was my favorite character. I will be honest. I'm not going to lie to you, Jacob, and I'm not going to be disingenuous. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to do that. I have no interest in the Lizzie McGuire show. I'm not saying it's crap. I haven't seen it. I just have no interest in it when there's a lot of other shows that I still haven't seen that I do have interest in. So I'm not going to do that. But I will tell you what. I was really surprised when, I was at D23 and they're talking about Lizzie McGuire. I'm like, they're talking about Lizzie McGuire. I don't care. How many of you guys then responded to me saying, how dare you, sir? There were a lot more people. I got to admit, I was surprised. There were a lot more people into Lizzie McGuire than I thought. There are people who freaking love Lizzie McGuire and are very excited about Lizzie McGuire coming back to Disney Plus. So for those of you who love Lizzie McGuire, I'm excited for you. I'm not going to pretend that I'm excited for it because I'm not. And I'm not going to watch the series. There's too much other stuff that I do want to watch that I don't have time for without going around to watching a show I have no interest in. But for those of you who are totally into Lizzie McGuire, I celebrate with you that you're going to get more Lizzie McGuire on Disney Plus. So that's awesome. Anyway, thanks for the recommendation, Jacob. Okay, Jesse writes, Peter Gabriel's cover of Heroes is amazing. And as we were talking this morning about this show, this song, Book of Love that he has, which is just one of my favorite pieces of music ever. If you haven't checked it out, you should. It's what they ended the Scrubs series with, which is one of the best ending scenes to a series ever. One of the best final scenes of a television series ever. And it was Peter Gabriel's Book of Love. And Peter Gabriel's got a lot of great music. I've gone to several concerts of his. He's great. All right. Where are we at here? Chris Hamilton writes, my top 5 favorite. Number 5, The Fugitive. Love that movie. One of Harrison Ford's best films. I can watch that every year. I can watch The Fugitive every single year. Tommy Lee Jones I think Tommy Lee Jones, he was either nominated for or won an Academy Award for that. I can't, you know what? I got to look that up. Hold on a second. Tommy Lee Jones, IMDb. Let me just pull this up quick. Because I know at minimum he was nominated. So Academy Awards, he won. Yeah, he won. He won for Best Supporting Actor for The Fugitive in 1993. He is so good in that. Tommy Lee Jones has been nominated for 4 Academy Awards. He won the Academy Award for The Fugitive. Love that one. Anyway, Fatal Attraction, one of Michael Douglas's great ones. Toy Story 3, Captain America Winter Soldier, number 1, Return of the Jedi. I, of course, by the way, Return of the Jedi is also my all-time favorite Star Wars movie. But when I count Star Wars movies in a top 10 kind of formula, I just kind of pack Star Wars, Empire, and Jedi all into one thing, and I just say Star Wars. Maybe that's cheating, but that's what I do. But just as a little note, Return of the Jedi just so happens to be my favorite Star Wars movie of all time as well. All right. Rasmus Johnson writes, hey, John, great show. You guys are so fun together. Thank you so much, Rasmus. I know I have a great time when, first of all, I have a great time every day because I'm either in here with Rob or Chris or Aaron and a combination of those three. And every day is great. And they all have a different energy. And I do enjoy my Thursdays. The Thursdays are a lot of fun. So thank you for that, sir. All right. Rasmus Johnson also writes, seeing It 2 tomorrow. I'm going to go see it tonight with fiance and friends. My friend is a huge It fan, and it's coincidentally her birthday. So we're taking her as a birthday gift. Listen, you never need an excuse to have a night out at the movies, but it's always good when you can use it as an excuse for a night out at the movies. I can't think of anything better for a birthday than somebody taking me to go to the movies, particularly if it's a movie I'm really excited about. I can only imagine what it would be like if like a Star Wars movie opened on my birthday. Although I will say this, Christmas is my favorite day of the year. Christmas has always been my favorite day of the year. My second favorite day of the year is Oscars. The Oscar day is my second favorite day of the year other than Christmas. And it feels like every other year it does happen on my birthday, which is, happy birthday to me. It's always kind of nice. Let's see. Ladislav Misanik writes, how is Warner Brothers doing the Birds of Prey teaser in front of It? Any different than a studio releasing a trailer only? Seriously? Oh, dude, that's such a night and day difference. Okay, first of all, the trailers at Comic-Con, you're only playing it for like 5,000 people. That's it, period. Often, many times, trailers that get dropped at Comic-Con first of all, a lot of the trailers that drop at Comic-Con then immediately go online. So that happens to a lot of them. On some rare occasions, they'll play a trailer at Comic-Con that doesn't get released. But quite often, these are for super highly anticipated films or films that are still a long ways off. And those trailers were specifically made just for Comic-Con, right? Birds of Prey is a completely different situation. It's not just being limited to an audience of 5,000 people in one room at one time. You're actually putting it out worldwide in theaters. This is a movie that needs all the help it can get. It needs all the help it can get. And it is not a highly anticipated movie, like say a Justice League would be, or an Avengers movie, or a Star Wars movie or something. It's just not that. It's just not, right? So the amount of differences between those situations is astounding. I would ask you, Ladislav, what similarity? I'd say it's completely the opposite. What possible similarities is there between a trailer being made for Comic-Con and a trailer being released in theaters nationwide, but just not being put online for a movie that nobody really cares about all that much? I would say that the onus is actually on you to tell me what similarities on there, because there ain't much. The differences are legion. The differences here are legion. So I see no similarities here. It's a completely different situation, in my opinion. Your point of view and your opinion is no more and less valid than mine. I'm just saying from my point of view, I don't see any similarities. It's a completely, again, to go back to the Wizard of Oz analogy, it's a completely horse of a different color. It's comparing apples to spaceships, in my opinion. All right, Cody Howard writes, number 10, I assume this is your top 10. Inception. We've seen a number of Inceptions. Number 9, Dark Knight, obviously a number of those. Number 8, It, really. Number 7, 21 Jump Street. I do love that. Number 6, The Conjuring. Number 5, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. Number 4, Harry Potter 4. Number 3, Lion King, the 1994 version. Number 2, Infinity War 1. Harry Potter 7 Part 2. So that's Deathly Hallows Part 2, right? There you go, man. Again, none of these... Inception, Dark Knight, 21 Jump Street, Conjuring, Guardians, Harry Potter, Lion King. None of these in my top 10 list. None of them in my top 10. Which again is just a great testimony to how great the art of filmmaking is. That we can all be putting in these lists, list all these great movies, and have none of them on our list. I mean, it is an amazing testament to how fantastic the art of movie making is. That we can have all these movies and all of our lists can look so wonderfully different, and maybe just have a couple of similarities or no similarities whatsoever. That's the great thing about being film fans, man. So thank you for sharing your list, man. A lot of solid choices on there, dude. All right. Hideaway Killer writes, and I think this is it. Yeah, then we're all caught up. Hideaway Killer writes, I work for Xfinity. This is the second time Xfinity has been brought up today. And almost all shows on all networks are available to watch all seasons, and thousands of movies can be watched anytime, same as streaming, even from phone or app for less than $30 a month. Yeah, but again, there is still... there are things like that, but the difference between the streaming networks, look, ultimately, when streaming networks were conceived of. Even when HBO was starting to dabble in doing that, and then Netflix came out, they started doing original shows and things like that. There was the whole notion of, I don't need to get one cable package in order to get the things that I want, right? It used to be, and I still have Spectrum writing, like sending me literally physical mail every week saying, sign up for this package, sign up for this package. It's like, dudes, I've been a cable cutter for almost 10 years. No, sign up for this package and get a home phone line. I haven't had a home phone line in like 12 years. What are you talking about, dude? Anyway, the whole notion of it was breaking away from this thing where you had to have cable in order to get anything. And now the thing about these streaming networks is that they operate outside of the cable system. They're not beholden to the cable rules. They can create their own content in their own ways, and you don't have to pay $30, $50, $70 a month, whatever it is for your cable bill, in order to get it. You can pay $7 a month to get the content you want. Now, as some, doomsayers foretold, we're getting into an age now where there's so many of these streaming networks that we're spending as much money as we were on cable anyway. But the thing is, with streaming, you do get at least to pick and choose which things you want, and you get to base that on your own taste about which content is valuable to you. And that's one of the big differences. Cable is becoming more and more like streaming, which is kind of funny, right? Streaming emerged out of cable, and now cable is trying to offer as many of the upsides as streaming as possible, but there's still that fundamental difference between the two. And I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm just simply saying what works best for me personally. But there are some advantages with one and advantages with the other as well. But it is kind of neat seeing cable these days trying very hard to become more and more like streaming in those types of regards. So I just think that's interesting. That's all. What it all is going to look like 5 years from now is going to be very interesting. I wish I had a crystal ball that I could look into and see what is this all really going to look like 5 years from now. Not 20 years from now, just 5 years from now, what's this going to look like? It could be very interesting, Hideaway Killer. All right, that will do it for this installment of the companion video. We are now all caught up. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Don't forget the John Campea Show returns tomorrow. Robert Meyer Burnett joins me for that. One of the things I'll tell you right now that we're going to be talking about tomorrow's show that somebody wrote in and asked about is like with all the great superhero television stuff right now. We're in the golden era, not just of superhero movies, but superhero television stuff. What are the top 5 best superhero shows right now? Rob and I are going to debate that tomorrow. It's just one of the things. We got a number of topics we're working on right now. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. Make sure you guys join us then as well. All right, guys, that will do it for me. Thanks a lot for being here. My name's John Campea, and until our next video, bye-bye.